Masako, and today I'm finally here to share my opinions about all the books that I've read in May and June. I've read quite a few new releases and just books that I think you'll be curious to hear my opinions on, and I didn't have the time to film this video because this house has too many people in it. It's noisy AF. The first book that I finished in May was truly Devious by Maureen, which is a contemporary mystery young adult novel, the first in the series. When I picked it up, I actually thought that it's a standalone, and I stand by my initial opinion that this book would have been better as a standalone. This is the book that I picked up because the synopsis was very intriguing. It reminded me a lot of The Secret History of Red Tart, which is one of my favorite books. I need to reread it at some point. It's a story about Stevie Bell, who is a true crime aficionado, which seems to be a trend at the moment. A lot of people are into true crime podcasts and documentaries and BuzzFeed Unsolved, which I know nothing about. Not my cup of tea. I don't like creepy supernatural stuff. Anyway, I found this type of character to be interesting to read about in a book, so that's why I picked it up. She applies to Ellingham Academy, which is a very peculiar place, school for children who are very talented at a young age, so prodigies. They can be filmmakers or engineers, it doesn't matter. And if they get in, they don't have to pay anything. Stevie Bell gets in. She is mesmerized by the place. It's a very different environment, but also there's a crime that is hanging over the school for a very long time. Mr. Ellingham, the man that originated the school, was a very rich man, and he received a lot of threats. One time a letter from truly Devious was sent to the school, and after a few days Mr. Ellingham's wife and daughter was kidnapped. The kidnapper asked for a ransom, but even though Mr. Ellingham paid the ransom, he never saw his wife and kid afterwards. So Stevie Bell, of course, is very much into the idea of solving this crime and putting her name out there. There's a lot of theories about this crime, about the person that was prosecuted for this crime. A lot of people believe that he wasn't the one that actually kidnapped Mr. Ellingham's wife and children. So it's a very interactive experience reading this book, but at the same time I felt that the synopsis and the idea was bigger than this book managed to execute. I really enjoyed parts of it. It was a very weird experience, because if you'd stopped me at a certain point, I would tell you that it's a 2-star book. And if it stopped me at another point, I would tell you that it's a 5-star book. I think this book would have benefited from a few more rounds of editing. A lot of things could have been taken out, and a lot of things need to be included for certain things to make sense. For example, I was very aggravated with the love interest, because when we see him for the first time, we know immediately that he is going to be the love interest, and it's a little annoying. It's like from that moment I knew how the things are going to work out, and I didn't like that, of course. They get together in a very odd way too. It's like, hey, there's a boy and a girl, they have to get together. This novel tries to be diverse. There's quite a few different characters. The cast is very large, but I don't think that it was done seamlessly. The other part is that I think all these background characters weren't developed enough. They've had interests and they've had stories, but at the same time they were not written in a subtle way that is required from a mystery novel. It's like in a play. At the start of every play there's a list of every character that is in the play, so you won't mix them up, and it says who they are and what they do. There's a small description, and it felt just like that. So I immediately started making assumptions about these characters and figuring out who they are in this story, so the mystery wasn't much of a mystery for me. The other part is, as I said, I think this novel should have been a standalone. We were promised the secret behind the Mr. Ellingham's family case, and in the end it turns out to be a completely different case, and we have to wait for the main case to be solved in other books, which is not something I signed up for, and I'm not sure I can deal with that, so we'll see if I'll pick up the second book. What I enjoyed about the book is that Stevie actually did some solving. She wasn't just a detective on paper, and she also had a strong personality. I could see her as a real person, and I also loved the conflict between her and her family. Her family is very conservative and she's very liberal, and I think that a lot of people can relate to that. The other part is the atmosphere of the school, the endless secret passages and doors and all those buildings, and that it's situated so far away in the mountains. I love this, and I think there could be more things done with this atmosphere and this setting. I for once filmed a full-on book talk about this book with spoilers, so when it's going to be up, I don't know if it's up right now. I will put something over here, but I'm proud of myself because I didn't do a book talk or a book review for a very, very long time. The next book that I finished was a huge disappointment, and I'm pretty sad about it because a lot of people need this book. I don't know many books that are trying to do that at the moment, that are trying to represent this group of people, so I don't want to slander it too much, but it was bad. This book was making rounds on BookTwitter and BookTube because it is a romance contemporary novel about a black girl who's biromantic and asexual. It's pretty clear to anyone that asexual people don't get enough representation in media at the moment. It's a little better with books, but with movies and TV shows, it's pretty much non-existent. The story follows Alice, who at the start of the novel breaks up with her girlfriend over the fact that they are sexually incompatible, and Alice is rightfully devastated by it, and she says that she is done with love. She works part-time in a library, and in that library she meets a guy who is pretty cute. She finds him very aesthetically pleasing and they become friends, but Alice feels like there's more to it, on her part at least, and she doesn't know where this relationship is going to go. Overall, I like the plot, but I think it could have been stronger if we had stronger characters. And the other part that I couldn't get through is the writing, because the writing annoyed me. The first part of the book is insufferable. Kann overuses the word cute, and I actually wanted to vomit after reading another cute in her book. Alice has this system that is applied to her crushes and friends and everything pretty. It's color-coded, so the color on this end of the spectrum is someone or something she doesn't find beautiful, and on this side of the spectrum are all the things that she finds gorgeous. So here are the quotes, and he stared at her. Too much cute. A veritable cutie-induced overload. There was a place for cute and every cute in its place. Whoever he was hadn't just exceeded her scale, he had broken it. Cutie code black, next generation. Another quote, her cutie code blasted straight past the red zone. And there were a lot of phrases like that. First of all, it's childish. Like, real childish. I don't know any grown-up people that have cutie codes or colored charts for people they find attractive or things they find beautiful. I just couldn't with that. And Alice in general seems very childish. She doesn't read like a person that goes to college. She reads like a 13-year-old, 14-year-old. She actually cries after talking to this dude. Not even because she made a fool of herself, just because she didn't say what she wanted to say. So she full on cries for hours. And I couldn't deal with that. It's like too much for me. The other problem is that the other characters, the background characters, were half-baked, they were contradictory. The relationships between them were too odd, and the dialogues didn't seem authentic. The jokes didn't land, it wasn't funny. She had very weird dialogues with her friends, with her family, with her love interest. And I just couldn't get past how badly written this book is, even though I don't like the phrase badly written because it applies all kinds of things. With this book I feel like it's not tight enough, it's scattered, and if it went through a few more runs of edits it would have been better. So I gave it 2 stars. I just did that, just gave it 2 stars. The next book that I finished was Take Me Home by Lorelie Brown. It's an FF romance, the second book in the Belladonna Inc. series. I, in general, love Lorelie Brown writing style, and I love her stories, I love her characters. I think that she writes great sex, which is not common in FF romances. Not the sex, the good sex. I was intrigued by the premise. It is about a 20-something woman that goes on Reddit in hopes to find a woman to go to a Thanksgiving dinner with and embarrass her conservative folks. And I love this. First of all, it's fake dating, and I'm all about that. And second of all, it's just a fun concept. Like, it's a fun concept. The problem was that it's a novella, so it's pretty short. The other 2 books that I've read in the series were novels, I believe, and it gave more room to develop the characters. But the second point is that even though it had great moments, and overall I think I liked it, it also had a few pretty unnecessary fat jokes and a pretty despicable rape joke, which I just stopped reading for a while after that. So especially because I've read 2 other books in the series and loved them, I was really shocked to find that this book isn't as good. I gave it 3 stars, it wasn't all bad. If you want to see me talk more about this series or FF romances, I made a video and included this series, Belladonna Inc. in it, and I talked in more detail about it. Then I picked up a book that I loved. It was Running with Lions. I actually got to know about it after I saw people hauling their books from BA. I didn't hear anything about this book before that, and I'm very grateful to all the people that managed to grab the arc of it and tell me a little bit more about it. So I managed to read it the day after it came out. I was very impatient because it is not only a very wholesome concept that I want people to write about more, it is also an Voices book about a queer male protagonist, and we don't get a lot of male authors writing about queer men. So that was exciting. But also, hear me out, it is a sport romance. Just by that sentence alone, I am interested. Sign me the fuck up. The story follows a teenage boy named Sebastian Hughes who goes to a football camp every year in the summer with his friends from high school that are also on the football team. And he is really excited and at the same time nervous about this year because it's the last year, and also because his ex-friend Amir Show is going to be there. Sebastian basically grew up with Amir, but then Amir's family moved away, and then I think at the start of high school they are reunited and they were not friends anymore. So now they are pretty hostile towards each other. So it's friends to enemies to friends to lovers. And it's a new angle and I'm into that. Sebastian has a great group of friends and he wants to make the best out of this year, and he of course is troubled by the image of Amir because he wants to set this relationship straight or gay, but Amir doesn't want to talk to him, and Sebastian doesn't understand what's the reason and why they are not friends anymore. It's a lot of fun. It's a summer camp. People need to write more books set in summer camps because summer camps are amazing. I remember my experiences with summer camps. It was the best days of my life. I think that it's always so much fun and entertainment and friends and relationships growing into something more, or I'm not going to get into my camp stories because it's not interesting, but this book was the bomb. I loved Sebastian, I loved his story. I think his relationship with Emir was pretty cute, and his relationship with his friend group and his family were a pretty large part of the story, which I enjoyed. Sebastian also was bisexual, and it was talked in length about in this book, which I appreciated. And Sebastian also struggled with some body image issues, and it talked a lot about this as well in the book, how he was training because he was afraid to get big, and how he was bullied when he was younger because he was bigger than everyone else. And I loved Sebastian so much. I think he was such an approachable and lovable character. I loved how Emir and Sebastian complemented each other and how this relationship was developed, that it was not a very fast burn. It also reminded me about the movie She's the Man, which is one of my favorite movies. You know about it if you watched my other video that I'm going to link here. There is a moment in this movie where Channing Tatum's character is training Amanda Bynes to play football better, and there was training montage in this book as well. I just love it. I think this book would be a great film, a great fun film where no one dies and everyone is happy. The next book was Radio Silence by Oseman, and in the middle of this book I realized that I'm on a winning streak because I loved it. I knew that I loved it after reading a few chapters. It's a very peculiarly structured book because it goes backwards and forwards, but somehow it works. And Oseman just won my heart with this novel. I want to read everything that she ever wrote, ever, because she knows how to write compelling characters and compelling situation and drama and this beautiful relationships between people that are platonic, which are hard to write. I was in awe of the skill as a person who writes, and I also was in awe as a person who read the book and enjoyed it. There's a very real scene in this book that uncovered who are the real villains in it, and it was written so well. I'm bowing down to Oseman. She's younger than me, I think, and I'm kind of jealous. Anyway, if you read this book, you know what scene I'm talking about. I'm going to try to make a book talk about this book if I'll find the time, because I really want to talk about it. It's about journeys that we make, and that even though they are all different, they can all still lead to success. I enjoyed this book so much. It is about fandom things. It is about authentic interactions. It is about relationships with people you didn't expect to develop a relationship with. It is about friends helping in the time when you experience adversity. It is just a wonderful book. I stayed up late to read it, and it's been a while. I seriously admire Oseman for writing this book so much. I want to read all of her other work. I think she's brilliant. That's all the books that I read in May and June. Thank you for watching this video. I hope to see you soon, but I'm not promising that.